I recently reconnected with my tomboyish and strong-minded childhood friend, a girl named Linda. Back when we were kids, she used to protect me, and now she's grown up to be a graceful young lady. I, Mike, am the youngest of 4 siblings and have 3 sisters. All 3 of them have always adored me and showered me with affection. Naturally, I enjoyed playing dolls with my sisters, so I came to like those activities. My favorite pattern was floral, and my favorite color was pink. You could say I was into what most people would consider girly stuff. The complete opposite of me was Linda. Linda's mom and my mom were high school buddies, so we've been hanging out together since we were babies. Back then, Linda had tan skin and a boyish short haircut. Her favorite activities were soccer and playing with toy trains. She always wore pants because she found skirts too restricting, and her favorite color was blue. When I was a kid, I was really shy and had a tough time talking to new people. I remember always hiding behind my sisters and Linda. Linda was a sociable and fearless child. She would always initiate conversations with new people without hesitation. Young me thought she was cool and saw her as my role model. And it wasn't just that. Linda was always bright and full of energy. Her presence made everyone around her smile. She was like a sunflower, adorable and able to cheer everyone up. Once I started elementary school, I became even more aware of how different I was from the other boys. I was once invited to play soccer with some male friends, but I rejected their offer. Well, it was because I was terrible at soccer and had plans to play dress-up with some girls later. And that's when the boys started mocking me. Dudes don't play those kinds of games, you know. It's creepy that a guy like you is into girl stuff. You're such a weirdo. I got teased a lot. Back then, I was too timid to talk back, so I just held back tears and did my best not to cry. That's when Linda stepped in and defended me from those bullies. Why can't a boy play girly games? What's wrong with that? Y'all are the ones acting weird by ganging up on someone and bullying them, she said. The boys looked like they were about to say something else, but Linda cut them off. I'll tell the teacher if you keep picking on Mike. They ran off immediately. Snitching to the teacher has always been a power move. I was sniffly and teary-eyed when I thanked Linda. Linda, thank you. I'm sorry for being such a coward and not standing up for myself. Linda took a handkerchief from her pocket and started wiping my eyes. Don't cry anymore, Mike. You're not weak, you're kind. Don't worry, I'll always protect you. I'll never forget Linda's smile when she said that. As she promised, Linda always stayed by my side and protected me from bullies. I kept thinking how great it would be if I could always be with Linda, who was cool, cute, and kind. But reality struck in the 2nd grade of elementary school. Linda was moving away. It was hard for me to accept that truth. On the day Linda moved, my mom and I went to send her off. I wanted to thank her for always being there for me and to tell her how much I liked her. Linda, thank you for everything, and well, I feel a certain way about you. Linda, you know. I managed to say my thanks, but I just couldn't muster the courage to say those 3 simple words, I love you. Seeing my hesitation, Linda gave me a comforting smile. Mike, take care. We're gonna be apart, but keep your chin up. Hopefully, we can meet again someday. Goodbye. Linda's final goodbye was trembling. Hearing that, my own goodbye came out even shakier than hers, I think. More than a decade has passed since then, and now I'm in my 2nd year of university. I've grown taller, and my voice has deepened. I think I look more masculine compared to my childhood. But inside, not much has changed. I still enjoy cooking and sewing, and I like floral and cute dot patterns. I prefer sweets over meat. I was teased in middle school with comments like, "Are you gay or something?" But I ignored them. I didn't want to worry Linda by showing that I was hurt by such comments. I lost touch with Linda after she moved, but I didn't want to live in a way that would make her worry, even if she wasn't around. In high school, I joined the Arts and Crafts Club. I started talking with girls who had similar hobbies and realized that I felt more comfortable with them than the boys. College was pretty much the same story. The good thing about high school and college is that you can choose your school and friends, unlike mandatory education. I found it easier to breathe when I met more people who accepted me for who I am. I'd love for Linda to see who I've become. But I had no idea where she was, and I thought we'd probably never meet again. Or so I thought. But then, at the first social event for my college seminar, I ran into her again. Linda, my first love, and someone I had always admired. At first, a girl wearing a mask came up to me at the party, saying, "You're Mike, right? Do you recognize me?" I had no clue who she was. Sorry. I'm usually good at remembering faces, and even through her mask, I could tell she was pretty. Her glossy hair was about bob length, and her large eyes cast shadows on her eyelashes. Her voice sounded familiar, but I just couldn't place it. I felt like I should remember someone as attractive as her, but I honestly didn't, and I told her so. She chuckled at my reply. "Wow, you're so cold-hearted." With that, she took off her mask. Seeing her whole face, my mind went blank. Her features had matured since childhood, becoming even more beautiful. Her hair, once short and boyish, had grown into a lovely bob. There was no mistaking it. She was Linda, my childhood friend. My eyes were drawn to her slender arms and the nape of her neck, both of which had become decidedly feminine. "Wait, Linda." Linda let out a relieved sigh. "I would have been shocked if you have completely forgotten about me. Long time no see, Mike." Seeing her again after 10 years was a surprise, especially how stunning she had become. It turned out we were both attending the same university, just different departments. It's a large campus, so we hadn't noticed each other during our freshman year. This reunion after a decade was incredibly heartwarming for me. We're both past 20 now, and you've had your birthday too, right? Let's have a drink together. Invited by Linda, I got carried away and started drinking fast, even though I'm not used to alcohol. Before I knew it, I felt sick and was stuck to the bathroom. Ow, I feel terrible. Geez, if you can't handle alcohol, you should have said so. You okay? Linda's concerned voice came from outside the bathroom. Sorry, I was so happy to see you again, I might have got carried away. I was honest, perhaps because I was drunk, and Linda's voice sounded delighted in response. Haha, thanks. I can resist alcohol so I can't get drunk, but I got carried away too. I was really happy and excited. Until then, I'd felt awful, but something about Linda's words made that feeling vanish. After that, Linda and I took a taxi home together. Her place wasn't too far from mine. Before getting out of the taxi, we also exchanged contact information. Knowing I could text Linda anytime made me grin from ear to ear. After that, we started keeping in touch and hanging out together. About 2 months since reuniting with Linda, we planned to meet up at a cafe on campus. I arrived pretty early and was sitting at the outdoor seating when I saw a female friend of mine, with red eyes, walking by. She noticed me and gave me a forced smile and wave. I couldn't just sit there, so I left my stuff at the table and approached her. What happened? Something wrong. The girl's name was Monica. We became friends after finding out we both enjoy crafting. We exchange handmade crafts and tip each other off when we find nice fabrics. She's a great person who never makes fun of my feminine hobbies. My boyfriend dumped me. Turns out he was cheating on me, and it looks like the other girl was his favorite. Kinda funny, right? I couldn't help but remember when, 6 months ago, Monica had told me with a big smile, I got a boyfriend. She'd been hyped because it was her dream to get a yes after confessing to someone she'd liked for so long. Seems like she fell for a bad guy though. I saw her picture. She's super gorgeous and does some modeling jobs. No wonder I can't compete. Monica began to tear up, unable to hold it in any longer. But we were sitting outside of the cafe, and I could feel the eyes of people around us, so I took Monica behind the building. Thanks for reaching over. I was struggling on my own. You're a lifesaver, Monica said, but her tears weren't stopping. I was deeply concerned for her, seeing how she was putting on a brave face. Are you sure you're okay? Can you make it home? I can make it home, but could you lend me a shoulder? Cheer me up a bit, but don't get me wrong, I mean as friends, okay? I laughed at Monica's hurried clarification about not meaning anything romantic. In my friend circle, there's never been a romantic action with any of the girls. According to them, I'm apparently like a mom to everyone. I get it. With that, I hugged Monica's shoulders and patted her back, thinking that a full-on hug might be too much for her. Monica, you're an incredibly attractive girl. Don't need to lose confidence over some model. After a good cry, Monica returned home with a smile. Good, I was able to get rid of that guy. Seeing the smile she gave me at the end, which was so typical of her, put me at ease. With that, the situation with Monica seemed resolved, but then a new issue cropped up. I saw a message from Linda on my phone. Guess you have a girlfriend. I'm busy today, so I'm heading home. She must have seen me with Monica and jumped to conclusions. It was all a misunderstanding. I sent messages and even called Linda to clear things up, but she didn't respond. To make things worse, I couldn't meet her at the university either. She was deliberately avoiding me. I hadn't seen Linda in over a week, and her birthday came while we had a cold war between us. I knew it was like stalking, but as a last resort, I waited for Linda until I finally got a chance to see her. When she saw me, Linda's eyes moistened. What do you want? You have a girlfriend, right? I saw you hugging. Don't lead me on if you're with someone else. It's confusing. It raises my hopes. Her eyes were misty, but she spoke as if she was angry. Yet what she was saying was full of affection for me, making me think, what a sweet girl she is. I chose my words carefully to not hurt Linda and explained what happened that day. She's like a best friend, and all I did was pat her back to comfort her after she got dumped by her boyfriend. I wasn't hugging her, I was just putting my arm around her shoulder, making sure her tear-streaked face couldn't be seen by passers-by. Does the other girl have any romantic feelings for you? I smiled and shook my head. Of course not. She's into real muscular guys. I'm not even close to her type. We're just friends. I've only had eyes for you, Linda. Upon hearing my last sentence, Linda visibly twitched. Seeing Linda get jealous over a girl standing in front of me made me want to protect her even more. I guess I've been in love with my childhood friend ever since we were kids. It was a moment of reaffirmation. When I was little, I looked up to you, Linda, who always protected me and fell in love with you. Running into each other again in college doesn't feel like mere coincidence. Now that we've reconnected, I want to take our relationship to the next level, beyond just childhood friends. I said that and looked at Linda again. Linda used to be called a tomboy by the adults around us, but nobody would say that about her now. She's grown into a woman, feminine and eye-catching. However, Linda didn't seem to think good about her own transformation. You liked the old me better, didn't you? I've changed a lot, you know. Linda mistakenly thought that I was into tomboyish girls. I was hesitant to say it, but sorry, I can't help it. I have to tell you, I love you. The old Linda and the new Linda, both are adorable. I love them both. Linda's face turned red at my confession. Wait, since when did you start saying embarrassing stuff like that? I've grown up, too. Besides, I've got a girl I like right in front of me after 10 long years. I don't want any misunderstandings due to a lack of words. Linda shyly but clearly said, I like you, too. This confirmed that we held the same feelings, but I regretted giving Linda the wrong impression with my actions. From now on, Linda, I'll be more mindful of my distance with friends. Also, can I introduce you to them? I have a lot of female friends, and I don't want to make you worry unnecessarily. I thought it might set your mind at ease if you knew who they were. What do you think? Thank you for considering my feelings. I'd be happy to get to know your friends. Seeing Linda's relieved expression made me feel relieved as well. Linda, just like you said you'd protect me when we were kids, I promise to protect you now. Please, will you be my girlfriend? Linda gave me her bright smile, like my favorite sunflower. Yes, thank you. This is the happiest birthday of my life. I was truly relieved to clear up any misunderstandings on Linda's birthday. From that day, our relationship continued even as we became working adults, and we got married when we were 26. Now 30, we're blessed with 2 kids and are in the process of building our dream home. Yesterday, after putting the kids to bed, Linda and I were enjoying a cup of coffee together in the living room. That's when Linda asked me, your first love was the tomboyish me, but you started dating me after I became more feminine. Honestly, which version of me do you like the most? Without even thinking, I answered, I love you the way you are now. My love for you is probably gonna keep growing as we get older. Just saying what I felt made me incredibly embarrassed. And it seemed Linda was just as embarrassed. When our eyes met, her ears were as red as mine. We're such lovebirds, aren't we? Yeah, we are. Even though it was embarrassing, seeing Linda's happy smile made me think it was worth it. Reconnecting with my first love, getting married, and even having kids feels like a miracle. That's why I want to continue to protect the smiles of my beloved wife and children. And to do that, I plan to keep expressing my love, just like I did yesterday. I want us to remain like this forever. Ready? At my words, Emily let out a hurried voice. What? No, hold on a bit. I tried to stop, panicking a bit, but it seemed too late. Sorry, I can't hold it. Too soon. In the end, I just couldn't wait and went ahead. Well, that's a lot. I can't even. While mumbling that, Emily was diligently wiping it up. But some had even gotten on her face. Finding her both amusing and endearing, I handed her a towel. This is the most memorable experience I've had with her. At the time, I had no idea we'd get into this kind of relationship. My name is Jake, 30 years old. I work as a pastry chef in our small family bakery. My dad, who used to be the owner, retired last year and is enjoying the countryside life with my mom. I've taken over the management of the store. I was a bit anxious, but the regulars still come, and my new cake recipes are always a hit. Work is going well. Then one day, I heard something from Mike, an old high school classmate. Rumor has it that Emily, the high school beauty queen, is working at a bar now. Emily was always the top of her class and a total princess. Flawless skin and silky hair. Her smile was angelic. She was so gorgeous that people whispered she could be a model or an actress. You had a crush on Emily, didn't you? Mike said, grinning cheekily. I did like her, but the thought of her working at a bar is unbelievable. Her dad's a CEO, and she comes from a well-off family. There's no way she's working at a bar, must be some mistake. Nah, man, it's her for sure, and get this, the place is sketchy as hell. Those words didn't sit well with me. I asked what made it sketchy, but Mike didn't answer. Come on, you're curious, right? Let's go check it out. Mike has always been pushy. I didn't really want to go to a place I knew nothing about, but Mike dragged me along to the rumored bar. On the way there, I was reminiscing about the times I liked Emily. We first shared a class during our senior year of high school. I knew her long before that because of her reputation, but we didn't actually start talking until we were in the same class. The most memorable moment was during the school fair when we were both in the cooking group. Emily and I were in charge of pancake toppings. She'd made the whipped cream in advance, so all I had to do was squeeze it. But while filling the piping bag, I noticed something was off. The whipped cream was way too runny. It was more like liquid than cream at this point. Before Emily could even finish plating the pancakes, the whipped cream started to dribble out. "Is it coming out already?" Hearing my words, Emily let out a flustered voice. "What? No, wait just a bit longer." I tried to stop it too, but it was too late. "Sorry, can't hold it. It's out." "No, that's too quick. The whipped cream just spilled out." The cream splashed beyond the plate and onto the table. "There's so much. Oh my goodness." Muttering to herself, Emily began to diligently wipe up the cream. But the moment I saw her face, I burst into laughter. She even had cream on her mouth. She must have touched her face without realizing her hand had cream on it. Even though she's universally acknowledged as beautiful, the sight of her with cream smeared around her mouth was both comical and endearing, making me laugh out loud. She seemed puzzled by what was happening, but when I pointed to my own mouth, she immediately realized, and her face turned beet red. Feeling a bit guilty for laughing so much, I quickly handed her a napkin. Sorry. We tried to squeeze the cream a few more times, but it was hopeless. This cream is too runny. Maybe we messed up the ratio of the ingredients. I'll quickly remake it." As I said that, Emily's face turned red again. "What the heck? I worked hard on this." "Wait, Jake, can you actually make whipped cream?" "Yeah, my family owns a bakery. I like making it at home all the time." Emily made a displeased face at my words. So I quickly remade just the cream. The quality of the pancakes wasn't great, but it made for a memorable experience. But unfortunately, from that day on, Emily began to avoid me. I was really bummed out that the girl I'd been interested in started giving me the cold shoulder. Gathering up the courage, I asked, "Did I do something to upset you?" Her eyes filled with tears as she snapped, "Just stop talking to me, okay?" Was she mad because I laughed at the whipped cream on her face, or did I unknowingly do something else? Either way, I couldn't confirm because she wouldn't talk to me. And just like that, we graduated high school without resolving that issue. As I reminisced, we found ourselves at the bar. Mike had said it was a sketchy place, but it looked pretty normal to me. The place was clean, and the waitresses were very polite. I whispered to Mike, "This place doesn't seem bad at all, and Emily isn't here either. Let's have a quick one and head out." But Mike just ignored what I said and loudly requested, "Bring us your top girl, please." Just when I was thinking of ditching Mike and heading home, the #1 waitress in popularity came out from the back of the place. She was a real knockout, showing off her slim limbs and dressed in a sleek black dress. Her waist was so tiny it made me wonder if she was eating enough. I knew that woman. It was Emily, the girl I fell in love with in high school. When she saw me, her eyes lit up in amazement. "Wait, is that you, Jake?" "Emily." We both stood there, too shocked to move for a moment. I couldn't believe she was actually working as a cocktail waitress. Then she quickly noticed Mike. "Mike, I told you to keep it a secret." Annoyed, Emily said that as Mike chuckled and took a swig of his drink. "I've always been a busybody, you know. Have you forgotten?" I was totally baffled and didn't know what was going on. That's when Mike gave me a knowing smile. "Look, I fibbed about this being a sketchy place. I thought it'd pique your interest. I was brought here by some work buddies, and the place is really decent with lots of beautiful women. I knew Emily was working here the first time I came. She told me not to tell anyone, but I figured I'd bring you since you can't seem to forget about her. Sure, I can't shake off my memories of Emily even now. Every time I go out to drink with Mike, I find myself mumbling things like, "Where could she be now?" Or "You think she's married or something." Emily sat next to me and poured some drinks. As she handed me my drink, she said, "I really didn't want only you, Jake, to find out I'm a cocktail waitress here." I realized then that she didn't really want to be working here. I wanted to ask her why she was doing this kind of job, but she seemed reluctant to talk about it, so I didn't push it. When I told her I'd become a pastry chef and open my own cake shop, she finally showed a genuine smile. "You own a cake shop? That's awesome, Jake. You're really making it." Her smile was even more angelic and mature than it had been in high school. "I'd love to try your cakes sometime." I enthusiastically responded, "Absolutely. Please come by my shop anytime." "Really? Are you sure?" "Of course, you're more than welcome." I didn't know whether Emily had a boyfriend or if she was married, but since we'd reunited, I wanted to see her again. A few days later, Emily actually came to my cake shop right before closing time. The weather was bad and business was slow, so I'd already put out the closed sign, but I let Emily take her time picking out what she wanted. "I'm really looking forward to this. I wonder if I can finish it all by myself." I went with the flow and asked Emily what she was most interested in an attempt to get some information out of her. "So, you have a boyfriend?" "Unfortunately not. Just focused on work right now." Emily gave her eye smile, but hearing that she was single made me do a mental fist pump. Seeing Emily carefully holding her box of cake, I nervously offered, "Would you like to eat it upstairs? That's my living space. The rain is really coming down too." I made the suggestion, my nerves on edge, worried she might turn me down. She looked out at the rain for a moment before saying, "All right, I guess I'll come up for a bit." I couldn't believe my luck. Emily was coming into my home. We went upstairs, and as Emily took a bite of the cake, she began to cry. Just moments before, she had been laughing and talking. Her sudden tears took me aback. My heart tightened at the sight of her tears as she brought the cake to her mouth. "Emily, what's going on? I'm all ears." When I reached out to her like that, Emily started to open up, sharing her feelings bit by bit. "You see, I grew up without wanting for anything because my parents ran their own business. I even got accepted into a prestigious women's college, but during my time in college, the family business went bankrupt. That took a toll on my mom, who developed mental health issues because of it. My parents ended up moving to stay with my grandparents in Kentucky. I never saw that coming. We've had reunions since high school, but Emily never showed up even once. They couldn't take care of me anymore, so they left me behind." Emily understood her parents were going through a tough time, so she didn't hold it against them. When I turned 18, I realized I had to live on my own. I quit college and looked for a job, but there were hardly any options with just a high school diploma. I couldn't afford the rent for the apartment I lived in during college, so I had to leave. That's how I ended up with my current job. They were okay with hiring high school grads and even offered housing. I can't imagine how tough it must have been for an 18-year-old girl with no family support, no home, no money, and no job. I was baking cakes at that time of my life, going to a vocational school on my parents' dime. It's heartbreaking to think that the girl I fell for was struggling just to eat. I regret that our reunion came so late. I just kept rubbing Emily's back as she cried. After the tears, Emily seemed a bit relieved. She probably hadn't shared this with any classmates, so she'd been carrying this burden alone. Maybe she needed someone to talk to about it. "Sorry for rambling on so much. We never even talked this much back in high school," Emily said, obviously wanting to change the subject. I thought it was a good opportunity to ask her about our high school days. "Do you remember after the school fair in high school, You became kinda distant. What was that about? Emily made an awkward face at my question. I didn't know you were the son of a bakery owner and good at cooking. I wanted to impress you with my cooking skills, but I messed up and felt awkward. I felt a huge relief knowing she didn't dislike me. And it made me wonder, did she have a soft spot for me back then? On our way home, Emily looked up at the starry sky and murmured, I hope the day comes when I can work in the daylight and sleep well at night again. I couldn't help myself and tightly grasped her hand. So, you can do it. If you want to get out, you can do it anytime. Emily squeezed my hand back. Thank you. Is it okay if we keep holding hands just a little longer? I walked Emily home that night, and we didn't let go of each other's hands until we reached her place. That's when I fully realized Emily's feelings for me. A surge of emotion filled me. I wanted to protect the woman I loved. The next day, after closing up my shop, I headed to the bar where Emily worked. It was still early, so the bar was in preparation. But I walked in anyway. Jake, what's going on? As I walked in, Emily, who was getting the bar ready for opening, looked surprised. The bar owner and other girls also looked at me with curiosity. Then I turned to the owner and bowed deeply. Please let Emily quit after today, I beg you. To Emily's surprise, I told her to quit her job and that we would find a new job and a place to live together. You can work at my bakery if you want, but no pressure. I'll help you find a place to live and a job that you actually want to do. Emily stood there, mouth agape. You want me to work at your bakery? I walked up to Emily and mustered my courage. I want you to be my wife. Working at a bar requires a lot of practice and experience. I know it's rude of me to say you should quit, but I love you. I'm worried about you working at night. I want you to have a day job because I'm concerned about you. I love you. As I blurted this out, the room erupted in laughter from the owner and the other girls. What are they laughing so much? I wondered, looking at Emily, who was blushing and covering her face with her hands. Then the owner filled me in. Turns out, Emily just told me she wanted to quit because she has a guy she likes and wants to try a day job. We all agreed she's too good for the night scene. Seems like you two are on the same page. Apparently, the owner and the girls were worried about Emily, their top cocktail waitress, who seemed to lack confidence. But it looked like Emily was ready to take the plunge even without my public declaration. I felt awkward and embarrassed. Then the owner gave me a solid pat on the back. She's like a daughter to me. Make sure you make her happy. I nodded vigorously, yes, in response. I think Emily was able to make it through tough times because she met kind-hearted people like the bar's owner and the other girls there. I want to take everyone's feelings into account and be the one to support Emily from now on. After that, Emily started working at my bakery. Our part-time staff, who were always saying we needed another hand, were over the moon. We also moved in together. Emily mentioned looking for an apartment, but we both felt the same way about wanting to be together, so she agreed to live with me. About 6 months after we moved in, we started preparing for our wedding. When it came to announcing the engagement, Emily had already informed her parents over the phone. It had been a while since they last talked, so Emily was nervous about their reaction, but they seemed pleased. It turns out her parents felt they were to blame for her hardships and were emotional about it. They also revealed that they hadn't taken Emily to Kentucky because they had decided to file for bankruptcy. Filing for bankruptcy puts a lot of restrictions on you. They probably didn't want to make their daughter live a pool life. Emily had thought her parents had abandoned her, but it turned out that they did love her. Her mom's mental health has improved significantly, and any tension between us has also dissipated, which is a relief. As for my parents, they were thrilled as soon as I sent them Emily's picture, exclaiming, "You've found a beautiful girl." Everyone from the bar has become regulars at the bakery. They say they come in often for the cakes, but it seems like they're really coming to see Emily. When we visited the bar to announce our engagement, they gave us a grand celebration, and I could see tears shining in the owner's eyes. And just recently, we had our wedding. It was a happy day for both our parents and everyone from the bar. The wedding was outdoors in a garden setting, under the bright sunshine. Emily, dressed in her wedding gown, looked absolutely angelic under the bright sun. Emily looks perfect in sunlight. I know I'll never forget this day wrapped in happiness. My name is Mike. Though I'm in the prime of my work life at 35, I'm currently on a 1-month leave of absence for personal reasons. I don't have a family right now. My mother had always been frail and passed away 10 years ago. My dad passed away last year after a long battle with illness, reaching the age of 75. I've heard that my parents got married young, and after having difficulties conceiving for a while, they were blessed with me. My mother was very kind and family-oriented. Though she couldn't overexert herself because of her health, she was great at cooking. She used to pack me loads of sandwiches and sides when I was busy with extracurricular activities. I remember when she came to cheer me on at my first competition with a big banner, my face turned beet red from embarrassment. My mom, always being my biggest supporter in everything, was the best mom for me. However, when I was in my 20s, she started having health problems and was in and out of the hospital. There were times when she showed incredible resilience and was able to live at home, but in the years leading up to her passing, she couldn't move as she used to and couldn't keep up with the household chores. From that time, I took over the household duties, including taking care of her. During those times, my dad was always working and, it seemed to me, didn't pay much attention to home. Still, since he was paying for my college tuition, I couldn't muster the courage to ask him to help more with home or with mom. The thought of something happening to my mom while my dad or I weren't home made me anxious, so on days when I didn't have college classes, I stayed home. I did the housework, prepared meals for mom, and worked from home. I didn't have much time to hang out with friends, but I knew that the time I could spend with my mom was limited. Looking back, I think I made the right decision to be by her side as much as possible. After my mom passed away, it was just my dad and me. The shock of losing my mom took a toll on his health. From there, one health issue led to another, and before I knew it, he needed care as well. He was physically able, but since he was all about his work, he couldn't do much else. Honestly, it felt even more challenging than when my mom was sick. Every day, it was a back and forth between work and home. Busy with housework and taking care of my dad. Between driving dad to the hospital, running errands, and always being there for him, I hardly had any time for myself. I'm an only child, and my relatives live in another state, so no one is nearby. Having no one to lean on was tough. However, that way of life ended a year ago, and with Dad's first memorial service behind me, things have finally settled down. That's when I decided to take a month off. My boss saw my worn-out face and told me to rest. Probably because he knew about my caregiving life, both he and my co-workers were supportive and understanding. I'm deeply grateful to be working in such a supportive environment. One day during my vacation, I got a call from a classmate, Jake. "How about hanging out this Sunday? My girlfriend's working, so I'm free." Seriously, am I just your fallback plan because you've got nothing better to do? I'm free too though. Joking aside, I agreed to meet up with Jake. Jake is one of the few close friends I have. Even when my caregiving responsibilities kept me away from social activities, he never left me out and always checked up on me. Such a great guy. Jake still lives at his parents' place, but he's planning to marry his girlfriend soon. "We might as well hang out now while we still can," he said, so we decided to play some video games at his place. When I arrived at Jake's place on Sunday, I heard a lot of chatter. "Sorry, I didn't know my sister was coming over." Jake apologized. Apparently, Jake's sister, who lives nearby, was having a barbecue in the backyard with her mom friends. "Oh, hey there, Mike. Sorry for the noise. Want some food? You can take it to the room." Jake's sister is always so upbeat. She's also really caring. I found out that the gathering was for moms who usually don't get a break because they're either single moms or their partners are always working. Jake's sister thought it would be nice to give them a break and make it fun for their kids too. Right when she saw my face, she asked, "Want to join us?" I politely declined, but she insisted, "Go ahead and eat. Just wait a bit for it to be ready." So, taking her up on the offer, I sat on the porch and waited. The adults chatted and laughed about the little things, and the kids were happily playing with the toys they brought. As I watched with a warm feeling, a little girl came up to me, opened her mouth in awe, and stared at me with a surprised look. Unsure of what to do, I just said, "Hello," but she continued to gaze at me without a word. What should I do here? Being unfamiliar with children, I felt a bit awkward. I managed to smile, and she giggled and moved away from me. She then looked around and wondered aloud, "Where's Mom?" Seemingly unable to spot her mother, she approached Jake's sister and asked. "She went to the store, sweetie. She'll be back soon, okay?" Just as she said this, the little girl's mother seemed to return. The girl ran to her and said, "Mom, hey, Mom, look, come on." She was tugging on her clothes, trying to get her attention. "Yes, honey, what's happened?" She looked at the flustered girl, smiled, and listened to her. "Mommy, Daddy's here. I saw Daddy." "Huh? What, Daddy?" The little girl's words left her mother puzzled. The other moms looked on, intrigued by the excited little girl's exclamation. She was loudly insisting, pointing to me and saying to her clueless mother, "Look, over there, it's Dad." A little angrily, she pointed in the direction where the dad would be. Huh? The person she was pointing at was me. What? I was taken aback and raised my voice in surprise. But the one who looked even more surprised was the girl's mother. "Oh my!" she exclaimed louder than anyone else, staring at me in shock. Both Jake and I and the other moms were looking back and forth between me and the girl's mom, wondering, what's going on? After a brief pause, the little girl's mother regained her composure. "He might look like him, but he's not your dad," she gently explained to her daughter. "But their faces are the same. It's the face I always see. It's Dad, right?" Still, the girl kept insisting. "Remember, honey, Daddy is up in the stars now." Holding both of the girl's hands gently, the mother tried to remind her, yet the girl responded, "Their faces are the same. Dad came down from the stars. He came down from the Milky Way, twinkling," she energetically explained to her mom, seemingly referencing the Milky Way associated with the upcoming July 4th festival. The girl then ran towards me, beaming, and asked, "You're Daddy, right?" Saying so, she joyfully swung my hands back and forth. Feeling a bit out of my depth, the girl's mother rushed over and apologized to me. "I'm so sorry." I couldn't really grasp the situation, but I just smiled at the cute girl. "Emily, honey, why don't you go play over there?" The mom gently directed her daughter's attention elsewhere, urging her to move away from me for a moment. Emily returned to the other children. "Excuse me, what did you mean by stars?" Feeling it might be impolite but curious about her calling me Dad, I asked the mother directly. "Well, the thing is," she began hesitantly, explaining the meaning of the stars. It turned out that Emily's father had been in a car accident when Emily was 2 years old and had passed away. Wanting Emily to remember her father, they kept a photo of him where Emily could see it, so she knew his face. "You know, you really looks just like my husband," she said apologetically, and hesitantly showed her phone. Driven by curiosity, I looked at the screen and couldn't help but exclaim, "Whoa, the man in the photo was so similar to me, I had to do a double take." Noticing my reaction, Others around us became curious, urging her to let them see the photo. Wow, they're identical. Everyone was in unison, expressing their surprise. Little Emily ran towards her mom with a bright smile, looked at me again with joy in her eyes, and softly murmured, "Daddy." Emily, he might look like Daddy, but he's not him. It's so surprising how much they look alike, right? Her mother tried to explain, but Emily didn't seem convinced. Soon, the steaks were ready. I and Jake served ourselves and decided to move away for a bit. "See you later, Daddy." Emily waved at me as she said this. We went into Jake's room and had a beer first while picking up some freshly grilled meat. Life has its mysteries, we remarked, and began to play some video games. I didn't intend to stay long and decided to head home before it got too dark. As I was leaving, Jake's sister's friend was also about to depart. "Oh, Daddy." Upon spotting me, Emily energetically ran over and hugged my leg. Everyone was charmed by little Emily's cute behavior, but with an apologetic tone, Emily's mom said, "Sorry for this," as she gently detached Emily's hand from mine. "No worries at all, but me and your husband, we look very much alike." "I know, even though I knew it wasn't him, it nearly gave me a heart attack," she said, placing a hand over her chest. Holding her chest area and blushing, she asked me where I am from. But it turned out we had nothing in common regarding our places of birth or upbringing. My distant relatives are from another place, but not from where she mentioned. "Maybe we're long-lost brothers," I joked. We both agreed how mysterious it all was and wrapped up our conversation. Then little Emily asked, "Does Daddy go back to the stars when it gets dark?" She looked up at me with those innocent eyes. It seemed Emily still believed I was her dad. What should I say in this situation? Before I could decide, Emily's mom said, "I'm so sorry again. See you," and led Emily away. Emily smiled brightly at me. Feeling that I should say something, I managed to say, "See you again, Emily." "Bye, Daddy." Emily waved energetically as they left. I worried Emily might cry out of sadness, but it seemed she believed that Dad returned to the stars, and I felt relieved. That night, as I lay in bed, the day's events stuck in my mind. Is there some sort of connection between us, or could this be a doppelganger situation? With those thoughts, several days passed. And on the following Sunday, although I didn't have much in the way of assets, my aunt and uncle came over to help to sort through my dad's belongings. It was a long drive for them, and I felt bad, but I couldn't determine the value of things on my own, so I had asked for their help. As we sorted through the items, I suddenly remembered that day with Emily. Speaking of which, the other day, I saw someone who looked just like me. I told about how little Emily called me Daddy when she saw me. However, that man had already passed away, and there were no similarities like where we came from. It's strange how things happen, isn't it? But it's quite a story, and seemed to be trying to recall something. After a moment, Aunt said, "You know, how many years ago was it? No, maybe decades ago. I heard my cousin had a fallout with her child. Either the child was kicked out, or ran away from home. I'm not exactly sure because we weren't close. Mike, you do resemble your grandfather. Could that man possibly be your second cousin?" Upon hearing this, Uncle and I skeptically replied, "Could such a coincidence really happen?" Curious, we started searching through Dad's old photo albums to see if we could find any clues. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything that seemed like a hint. Even after that, Aunt, still curious, went through her old photos at her house, but again, no clues were found. However, in the midst of her search, she found contact details for some distant cousins she hadn't been in touch with for years. Some numbers were unreachable, but she did manage to get in touch with one of the siblings. The father, her elder cousin, was not reachable, but she secretly got in touch with his daughter and managed to get her number. It seems like there are distant relatives we don't even know about, and they're not well acquainted with each other's current circumstances. So, although it took some time, Aunt talked to the niece and gathered some information. It turned out that the details about Emily's father, his name, age, the year he passed away, and where he lived matched the story Emily's mother had told. It seems more and more likely that Emily's father and I might be second cousins. I never thought second cousins could look so much alike. Maybe it's the strong genes from our grandfather. Anyway, I really wanted to tell this to Emily's mother, so I immediately called Jake and asked him to pass the message to his sister. We then exchanged contact details and decided to meet up with her, Sarah, later on. On the day of our meeting, we met at a park where Emily usually plays, and I showed Sarah the pictures and information Aunt had sent me on my phone. Everything matched perfectly with her late husband's details. What a coincidence. I can't believe he was your second cousin. Sarah looked surprised but nodded in understanding. Then, Emily ran up to me and said, "So you're not my daddy." She seemed a bit embarrassed about the mistake and looked shy. "You know, Daddy can't come down from the stars, right, Mom?" Emily looked at Sarah and giggled. I explained everything to her later. It was a bit tough to make you understand, wasn't it, Emily? Sarah hugged Emily from behind and, recalling a time when they were chatting, both burst into fits of laughter. Hey, let's play together. Mom too." With that, Emily took my and Sarah's hands and eagerly led us to the playground. I wasn't sure what's the best to entertain her, so I ended up just following her lead and watching the two of them. Yet, I found solace in Emily's pure innocence. And on one Sunday, I was at the zoo with Sarah and Emily. "I'm sorry for taking up your day off," Sarah said apologetically, while Emily was hopping around excitedly. I had agreed to Emily's earnest request to come to the zoo as a trio. From our last outing to the park, it seemed Emily had taken a liking to me. Every now and then, she'd take my hand and we'd joyfully run around the zoo. When it was time for lunch, the three of us spread out our picnic mat in the open space and sat down together. Sarah had packed us a lunch. "I'm sorry, it's mostly sandwiches and kid-friendly snacks," Sarah said shyly, handing out wet wipes. Look, this has a lot of ham and cheese," Emily exclaimed joyfully, holding a sandwich, eating with delight. I didn't hesitate to have the lunch. The homemade meal brought a smile to my face, both for its taste and the sentiment behind it. Emily, with her innocent smile, said, "It's so fun with Uncle Mike. I wish you were my daddy." She chuckled and said, "I'm gonna go play," as she energetically ran around with a ball. Sarah, maybe reacting to the daddy comment, gave me a sheepish smile and said, "I'm really sorry." On the drive back from the zoo, Emily, tired from all the excitement, slept soundly in the car. When she woke up, it seemed she was inside the house and she started crying, saying, "Uncle Mike is gone." I think she had a lot of fun today. "Thank you so much," read the grateful text I received from Sarah later, which also mentioned how Emily wanted to play again soon. From then on, at Emily's request, the three of us started going out for meals and outings. Today we're playing with this. "Emily, make sure you ask Mike if it's okay to play." Emily reached for the Lego and RC cars I had in my apartment. "It's okay. Play however you like." On one day we had planned to go to the park. It rained heavily. Emily, being restless and wanting to go somewhere, was brought to my place. It was good that Emily found something of interest at my place, but I felt a bit embarrassed revealing my love for Lego and RC cars to Sarah. Sarah and I sat drinking coffee, watching Emily play, smiles on our faces. Then, Emily said with an innocent smile, "Uncle Mike's place is so much fun. I wish we had a big house too. Mommy, I want to live in a house like this." Both Sarah and I laughed at Emily's words, but we nearly spat out our coffee at her next statement. "You know, calling you Uncle Mike is too long. Just call you Dad. He's pretty much Dad now." Saying that, Emily chased after a remote control car and ran down the hallway. Left in the room, Sarah and I exchanged glances but quickly looked away and sipped our remaining coffee. We didn't voice it, but there was a certain tension in the air, a mutual understanding. A few months later, play airplane with me. Emily jumped onto me. I lie down on my back and start booming the plane with Emily on my feet and supporting my hands as well. Thank you for boarding. Flight Emily is taking off. I made the sounds of an airplane taking off and gently lifted and swayed my legs to simulate flight. Ha ha ha. It's become Emily's favorite game recently. After about 10 rounds of takeoffs and landings, with Emily always hopping back on, the old wooden floor of my house would creak and groan. Hey, Emily, you are tiring out Mike. Sarah, peeking out from the kitchen, laughed as she watched the playful scene between Emily and me. In truth, Sarah and I had been dating. Since it's Emily's summer break and she wanted to, we agreed she'd stay with me until school started. I'm considering marrying Sarah in the future, so this feels like a trial run for living together. My parents had passed away and I was exhausted after years of caring for them. Without much experience in love, I had always planned to live on my own, but I never thought that such a coincidence would lead me to a lively life. Sometimes, I glance at a picture of my mom. I'm not superstitious, but I wonder if my mom, who might have been worried about me being alone, somehow brought us together. My mom always wished for my happiness. It is not impossible. If I squint, it looks like my mom is smiling in her photo. Anyway, I'm happy now. Making Sarah and Emily happy is my current dream. My name is Kevin, and I turned 38 this year. I work as a system engineer. I'm so busy with my job that I'm still single. Because I'm an only child, my parents, especially lately, keep telling me to get married and to show their grandchildren. If I explained that my job is important right now, my mom wouldn't be convinced. Ever since my dad passed away, my mom has been pushing me even more. She might be feeling lonely. The deadline phase for system engineers in IT companies is hell. When our sales team isn't coordinating with us, things really go south. We often get hit with unreasonable changes that clients push onto us. Thankfully, I'm highly regarded in my company for my work. Naturally, I get assigned more challenging tasks. I'm entrusted with meaningful work. I feel needed and appreciated at work. But, because I'm always working, I hardly have any opportunities to meet women. I'm not even invited to matchmaking parties anymore. But there is a woman I look up to and admire. Her name is Samantha, our project leader. I believe she's 2 years older than me. She's a system analyst, like a general manager for us system engineers. Basically, she's like our direct boss. She's well known in the industry and is really kind to our team. On the other hand, she can be tough on competitors. She always carries herself with confidence and grace. My only pleasure is seeing her at work. Just hearing a sweet voice say good morning makes me happy. So, even though I haven't met anyone, I'm not looking for a girlfriend. However, what weighed on my heart was that I couldn't fulfill my mom's wish as I was the only one left living at home. Hearing my mom's nagging made it hard for me to visit home. During such days, a client requested system specification changes right before the deadline. Major changes after almost completing the project. It seemed like our timid sales rep got pushed around and accepted the request. When we got the news, every member of my team slumped over their keyboards. We had been working overtime because it was right before the deadline. Such an incident just when we thought we could finally go home. It's no wonder we were all so deflated. The teary-eyed saleswoman who was bowing apologetically was a new employee. We couldn't blame only her, Well, we've got to get it done, don't we? I took the change request from the sales rep and reported to Samantha's desk. Samantha had already been briefed by the sales manager, so she quickly skimmed through the request and asked me, "How long do you think it'll take? I'll try to get an extension from the client." Well, at a glance, I think we can manage in about a week. Even if we can't get an extension, if everyone pitches in, we'll be all right. Hearing my words, Samantha nodded assertively. "Thank you, that's reassuring." With that, the entire engineering team mobilized to address the changes. Such sudden changes aren't rare. Even if we're used to them, they're still a pain. A newlywed colleague of mine was sadly informing his new wife, "I wouldn't be coming home for a while." Other colleagues were also reaching out to their families or partners. The only ones without anyone to inform about our business were me and Samantha. For almost a week, we ended up staying overnight at the office. Many co-workers returned home only to come back again for work. Fortunately, there's a gym nearby, so I took advantage of its shower room and didn't return to my apartment for a single day, diving straight into work. Samantha was also used to staying overnight. She didn't go back home, overseeing our tasks and increasing work efficiency. Our progress going as planned was largely due to her expertise. After handing over the data to sales and our contacts, we all collapsed onto floors or couches. An entire week. Trimming down our sleep hours, we finally reached the delivery day. We handed the data over to sales around 1 a.m. I fell into a deep sleep and was awakened by the morning sunlight streaming through the window. Some colleagues were still asleep on the floor, but most were sprawled on the small couches. Carefully trying to move without waking the person sleeping next to me, I suddenly froze. Right in front of me was Samantha's face, defenseless in sleep. It wasn't the face of the boss I usually see. She looked like a child in her sleep. Awareness of her made my heart race. Her beautiful lips parted slightly, murmuring some indistinct words in her sleep. I felt like I was watching something I shouldn't. Yet, I couldn't take my eyes off her. Just a bit longer, I kept telling myself as I gazed at Samantha's sleeping face. I had never looked at her for so long before. As I was entranced by her, her eyelids suddenly lifted, and my heart felt like it would burst. With a small scream, Samantha jolted awake. "Eek, Kevin, why didn't you wake me up?" How embarrassing. The usually calm and composed lady is now flustered, her ears turning a bright shade of red. "Oh, I'm really sorry. I thought about waking you up, but..." Samantha places both hands on her cheeks, trying hard to hide something from me. "Samantha, I'm going to ask something embarrassing, but please be honest, okay?" Samantha's face is beet red, showing just how embarrassed she truly feels. Well, if it's something I can answer. Then Samantha leans in, whispering into my ear. She probably didn't want anyone else to overhear. I couldn't hide the nervous excitement as her lips approached. Suddenly, I felt her soft breath near my ear. Didn't snore, did I? Huh? Caught off guard by the unexpected question, I blurted out a response. I hadn't imagined she'd be concerned about something like that. She looks at me with an expectant gaze. "You were fine. You were sleeping soundly, just like a child." My response seemed to relieve her. She smiled with an innocent face, saying, "Oh, thank goodness." That smile of hers was something I'd never seen before in Samantha, and my heart was filled with a fluttering feeling that wasn't just nerves. I had always admired her as my boss, but this fresh surprise of seeing her as such a cute lady was unexpected. From that day on, she was no longer just someone I admired, but someone I had feelings for. I got a call from my mom back home 3 days after that hectic project deadline. Apparently, one of my old school friends from our hometown had gotten married, and she lamented over the phone if I still hadn't found someone. She kept impressing, so I accidentally let slip that I have a girlfriend. I didn't intend to lie. However, Mom immediately began grilling me on who she was and how long we'd been dating. I described to my mom a detailed image of the girl I had in mind. At that moment, I pictured Samantha in my mind. How happy would I be if Samantha was really my girlfriend? I got lost in my fantasies while sharing made-up romantic stories about her to my mom. When I visited home after a long time, as expected, Mom brought up this topic. She had some stuff for me and probably used it as an excuse to get more details about my girlfriend. She persistently asked me to introduce her to my girlfriend. When I kept dodging the topic, Mom finally lost her patience. "You don't really have a girlfriend, do you? Did you just make her up? How pathetic." Her taunting remarks made me lose my temper, especially since she hit the nail on the head. "I have proof." How rude. I took out my phone and showed her a picture from a recent work party. In the photo, Samantha and I were laughing together. We both looked merry, probably because of the drinks we had. This photo, with just the two of us, is something I treasure. "See, isn't she the wonderful person I told you about?" With an audibly annoyed breath, I spoke sharply to my mom. She was frozen, staring intently at my cell phone screen. I thought she might be stunned by how lovely the woman was. However, upon closer examination of my mom's face, her expression seemed more of fear than surprise. She was turning pale. "This woman, is she your girlfriend?" "No way, can't be," my mom murmured in a trembling voice. Her hand holding the cell phone was shaking. "Mom, what's wrong? Do you know Samantha?" Snapped back to reality by my words, my mom took a deep breath to calm herself down. I waited patiently for her to begin. "I'm sorry, Kevin. This must be a shock to you. There's something I need to tell you." With that, my mom began to share a story. She said she knew a woman who looked just like Samantha. It was probably Samantha's mom. Apparently, she was a rival in love over my dad when they were young. And shockingly, my mom was the one who stole my dad from Samantha's mom. She did so with rather forceful means. My mom practically made my dad hers. My dad's family business was in decline, and he was persuaded to marry my mom because she brought a significant dowry. To save the family business, he married my mom, essentially leaving Samantha's mom, whom he was dating at the time. My mom has been living with guilt towards Samantha's mom ever since. Growing up, I always thought my parents had a great relationship. I couldn't have imagined they had such a past. Tears formed in my mom's eyes as she expressed a desire to meet Samantha. She wondered if my dating Samantha might be some kind of destiny. Of course, Samantha is a fictional girlfriend of mine. There's no way to introduce her to my mom. I quickly changed the topic and made my exit, heading back to my apartment. However, from that day on, my mom started calling almost every night. She kept repeating her wish to meet Samantha. Even when I tell her both Samantha and I are swamped with work, she doesn't listen. Lately, she's even been calling during work hours. What's going on? Is there some sort of problem? After ending the call with my mom and returning to my desk, Samantha, with a concerned look, approached me. Seeing me leave my desk multiple times for calls, she wondered if I was dealing with some issues. "Well, it's my mom on the phone." I honestly explained everything to Samantha. About how I had introduced her to my mom as my girlfriend, and the past connection between my mom and Samantha's mom. Then I made a plea to Samantha. "I know it's a lot to ask. Would you pretend to be my girlfriend just for a day?" I felt it was a shameless request, but it seemed like the only way out of my mom's constant inquiries. I believed meeting Samantha would satisfy her. Later, I could just tell my mom we broke up. I clasped my hands, begging Samantha, and she chuckled a little. "All right, but you owe me one." Relief washed over me upon hearing her response. She giggled, seeing my evident relief. "You're the ace of our team, you know. We can't have you getting sidetracked by such trivial things." She was absolutely right. Finding no words to reply, all I could do was offer a weak smile. The weekend came, and I took Samantha to my parents' home. I had already informed my mom of our visit. She was waiting for us at the front door. As Samantha stepped out of the car, my mom squinted as if looking at something dazzling. Perhaps trying to find traces of her old rival in Samantha. "Nice to meet you. My name is Samantha Smith." As she introduced herself and bowed her head, my mom gently nodded and took her hand. Seemingly forgetting about me, they both entered the living room. I hurriedly followed behind them. In the living room, I introduced her as my girlfriend. "Kevin has been so kind to me," she said. Samantha, playing her role perfectly, went along with my little lie. My mom, tears forming in her eyes, gazed at Samantha. She then confessed about a past dispute she had with Samantha's mom. Choking back tears, she apologized for the rift she had caused between them. Samantha softly and tenderly held my mom's hands and smiled in understanding. "You don't have to apologize for anything. My parents passed away when I was young, but I believe they were a loving couple. To this day, they are still my ideal image of a married couple," Samantha said, smiling at my mom and me. She laughed, saying that she was born because my parents got married. "So, all's well that ends well, right?" I joked, and both my mom and Samantha burst into laughter. I could sense the years of guilt that had been weighing on my mom's heart beginning to lift. I thought to myself, maybe I've done something right by her after all. "My dream is to build a family like that, alongside Kevin," she said. Samantha stared intently at both me and my mom with a serious expression. Even though I knew she was just acting, my heart raced as if it would burst out of my chest. Tears of joy rolled down my mom's cheeks, moved by Samantha's words. My mom waved us off as we got into the car and we began our journey home. Both Samantha and I exhaled deeply at the same time. That was a proof that we had both been quite tense. We found it funny and laughed together. "Thank you for today, Samantha. Your acting was so realistic it had my heart racing," I said as I drove. Feeling a bit shy, I couldn't bring myself to look at her face. Then, I heard a disappointed sigh from the passenger seat. I panicked, thinking I had upset her. I struggled to find the right words, but nothing came to mind. The atmosphere in the car grew tense. "Kevin, are you just going to let today be a charade?" Samantha asked, her face still turned to the window. Wait, what does she mean? Was this a confession from Samantha? "I don't want it to be just that," I exclaimed, pressing the gas pedal harder. From the passenger seat, a soft thank you was heard. Feeling somewhat embarrassed, I responded, "No, thank you." It wasn't the most eloquent reply, but I couldn't think of anything else to say. I think I was the most surprised by the unexpected turn of events. My relationship with Samantha continued to progress smoothly, and on Christmas, I proposed to her. The growing affection I felt as she happily accepted the ring was overwhelming. I vowed to protect her for the rest of my life. But later on, I found out she had been hiding something from me. When she said we needed to talk before getting married, I feared she was breaking up with me. However, her confession wasn't about breaking up, but a much more painful story. Samantha's parents divorced when she was young. Her mom raised her as a single parent and unfortunately passed away due to overwork and stress. Apparently, her mom had always been somewhat frail. Smith was her mom's maiden name, and her father had taken her mom's name when they got married. After the divorce, Samantha had no idea what became of her father. The image of her parents being the perfect couple, the ideal family for her, was a complete fabrication. It was a white lie she told to ease the guilt my mom felt deep inside. It made me realize just how compassionate and kind-hearted she truly was. A kindness that seemed to embrace everything. It felt like I was rediscovering her charm. I hope to become a person who is kinder and more compassionate than her. You're not having a wedding ceremony. That's a shame. When I went home to announce my engagement, my mom bombarded me with questions. She seemed to think I was being irresponsible by not hosting a wedding ceremony. We're planning to just take wedding photos and skip the ceremony. It's what she wants to. My mom reluctantly agreed to our decision after hearing my explanation. I have a favor to ask of you, Mom. Would you help me choose a wedding dress? Samantha spread out a bunch of wedding dress catalogs in front of my mom. Oh, I can help choose. Absolutely. Kevin isn't exactly the best when it comes to choosing my dress. The two of them are looking at me and chuckling. Whenever this happens, I always feel left out. But watching them enjoy themselves like this is a happy moment for me. It reminds me of the precious family I need to protect. So, how was it? Subscribing to the channel really motivates us to create more content. See you in the next video.